Good afternoon, dear colleagues. If I repeat myself, I don't think it's really a bad thing, but I have to provide some explanations regarding the decision passed by the Cabinet Minister of Ukraine yesterday about the introduction of the regime of emergency situation on the territories of Donetsk and Lugansk regions, for which purpose they actually set up a special emergency situation commission. They actually enhanced the alert regime on territory of the country in order to coordinate all the activities of all the agencies in order to ensure the defense and protection of the civilians and all the units. And that was the reason for the inventory which started yesterday of all the facilities and installations in this country. According to the information available now, half of the defense facilities are prepared already to cover to provide the protection of the people. Again, we are talking about the situation to respond to the violation of normal conditions of living, which actually was the result of the any kind of disaster, which can actually jeopardize the life of the health of the local population, or lead to a big number of the victims, or those who can suffer, can incur the economic damage, or make impossible for the people to continue to live in those territories. And one of those functions is associated with the emergency situation or situation. The Russian troops and the illegal armed forces or groupings continue to try to attempt the offensive on the position of the ATO forces. They try to carry out the further military operations, first of all, in the area of the Baltsevo, Gligirsk, and Mariupol, Donetsk region. In Donetsk, Mariupol, Debaltsevsk, Lugansk, Pervomaisk, and the directions, terrorist labels repeatedly shelled the position of the ATO using the artillery, the mortar launchers, the grenade launchers, tanks, and the Grad Salver multi-launch installations. The rebels repeatedly tried to attack our positions near the settlements of Debaltsevo and Sanzharka Donetsk region, and Novogoshkivka, Orihova, Stanitsa, Lugansk, and Kripsk in Lugansk region. All the attacks were actually taken care of by the Ukrainian, or the last region. About 9 Ukrainian servicemen were killed and 30 were wounded. Ukrainian military servicemen actually delivered and incurred the considerable losses to the rebels. Yesterday, in the regions of the Smila, Vesela Gora, they eliminated or actually ruined the tank of the rebels and about 60 militants. About 300 more terrorists were wounded. Yesterday, Ukrainian servicemen actually imprisoned, taken as prisoners, the driver of the tank, citizens of the Russian Federation from the Krasnodarsk territory. During the interrogation, he explained that he was arrested by the Minister of Interior of the Russian Federation in the city of Rostov-on-Don while he was trying to actually to steal a car. And instead of imprisonment, he was proposed to, or actually was given a chance, instead of the imprisonment, to go to 4 months' time term to the eastern part of Ukraine to defend the Russian word, so to say, and it was promised to be cleared from any criminal responsibility. According to this terrorist, on 23rd to 25th of January, he participated in the combat actions against Ukrainian armed forces and was actually detained by the Ukrainian servicemen during the attack, one of the checkpoints, Ukrainian checkpoints. He also informed that his unit, 7% of his unit are the citizens of the Russian Federation. we still continue to have the checkpoints Gnotovo and Stanishny Lugansky closed for the passing through those. Russian Federation, for another time, actually bluntly violated the interstate, intergovernmental agreements and international law. The Russian side unilaterally allowed the passage through the checkpoint Donetsk of the buses of Moscow to Lugansk and Lugansk, Lugansk. They were carrying between those buses, I mean, between 15 to 45 civilians. May I remind you that the international vehicle checkpoint is warning is closed according to the resolution of the Cabinet Ministers of Ukraine. So the responsibility lies against the opposite side. According to the fresh information, the terroristic units of DPR and LPR may choose to carry out some provocative actions through the attacking the next Russian so-called humanitarian convoy. That means that the Russian Federation never sent any official documents regarding the passage of this convoy, and the International Committee of the Red Cross is not going to take part in the checking and verification of the so-called humanitarian assistance. The United Nations for the international assistance actually already approached the Ukraine to give the information regarding those convoys, this specific convoy and all the previous ones, till the June.
The fourth wave of partial mobilization is continuing. One of the first teams of mobilized citizens of Kharkiv, 300 of them will be sent to the high mobile landing troops of the armed forces of Ukraine. Now, many volunteers are trying to get to these units, and that was mentioned by the regional military commissar. Ukrainian military every day are enhancing their qualification based on Krivorizhska Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. There were trainings conducted with the trainers on explosive affairs under the leadership of experienced officers. The National Guard's soldiers were working on putting the explosives and their demining. The Ministry of Public Health of Ukraine continues the measures on providing pharmaceuticals and specialists to the medical institutions of Donetsk and Lugansk regions. The specialists of the Ministry of Public Health, together with medics of Mariupol, analyzed the need of the hospitals and medical devices and medications. Now the medical institutions now the medicines for the total amount of 250,000 hryvnias are sent to the medical institutions of Mariupol. Yesterday, the Security Service of Ukraine made public the evidence of committed crimes against humanity by the militants of the so-called Donetsk Republic and Russian military. On the 24th of January 2015, the terrorists conducted 5 shellings of the residential areas of Mariupol. During that assault, 30 people were killed and more than 100 citizens of the city were wounded. And the armed forces were equipped by Tulpan and Grad systems. I would like to they requested me the coordinates. Till the end of 2014, I worked in traffic police, and I knew where the equipment and the personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine are within the city and in the neighboring regions. I was finding these places in Google Map programs, and I saw the coordinates, and then by SMS I was sending them to the other side to the, and then I was giving such coordinates, and were there shellings after that? Yes, they were shelling at all of these places. I was giving the coordinates, and they were to shell at night, but they started shelling in the morning. 1 in the morning, at 8 o'clock today, yes. I went to see what happened there, and I said that they missed 1 kilometer, and he said, how can you see it, where they were shelling from? And I said, from Vinogradная. Thank you. The fire was started at the order of the Office of Russian Federation with the nickname Horets. All the proof evidence of the that the militants and the armed forces of Russian Federation were involved into this crime was given to the members of diplomatic corps that work in Ukraine, including the Russian ambassador, as a sign of support of Ukraine in their fight against aggression. The members of the Committee on Foreign Affairs of European Parliament call upon the EU to enhance the sanctions against Russia and to provide equipment to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. We continue to provide assistance to those who suffered in the regions and to the citizens of Mariupol. The rescue people and volunteers help local citizens to close the broken windows. They are given the special materials, but according to the preliminary calculations, 11 million hryvnias are needed for these works. According to the information of the head of Donetsk Regional Administration, Alexander Kikhtenko, more than 100 million hryvnias are needed to compensate the losses. The citizens whose apartments and houses are not fit for living, the local authorities gave an opportunity to stay in some local rest houses. Ukraine is helping their citizens on the liberated territories. The Ministry of Agrarian Policy of Ukraine, during the first 2 weeks of January 2015, delivered to the citizens of the liberated Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast 10 tons of food products. In total, starting from the July of 2014, the Ministry of Agrarian Policy provided to the people who suffered in the Donetsk region and to the military who are defending Ukraine in the ATO zone 1.94 thousand tons of the food products and 18 tons of humanitarian assistance. In the Lviv region sends construction materials from the reserves of the region to restore the infrastructure of Mariupol that suffered from shellings by militants. Yesterday from Lviv to Mariupol, 2 trucks went that will deliver to the Donetsk region 10,000 sheets of the special materials for roofing and also 316 square meters of window glasses. Also, the humanitarian aid is delivered to the citizens of Marinka, Krasnogorivska, and Starognatovo that suffer from daily shellings. The officers of the group of cooperation brought assistance for 400 local children. Ukrainian patriots continue to support Ukrainian army. In Odessa, volunteers and civil activists organized the charity fair and raised money for military who are in the zone of ATO. The school children and students of Odessa were selling some certain pieces of art that they made themselves. The youth from the Druże Muzyka musical collective organized the concert for the visitors of the fair. The rotation of military continues. The military who are serving in the east of Ukraine. Yesterday, one more unit of the Battalion of Special Purpose Chernigiv came back to Chernigiv. 2 trucks with humanitarian assistance arrived to the territory of Ukraine via Yagodin cross point. The truck with generators and tents arrived from Finland for the emergency service of Ukraine in Dnipropetrovsk. The state concerned Ukroboronprom gave to our military almost 800 sets of new uniform. The sets of military uniform of Ukrainian manufacture include the special military costumes, the winter and summer jackets, and special hats and gloves. The international community continues to provide political support to Ukraine. The General Secretary of the Alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, called upon Russia to immediately stop the support of militants by equipment in the east of Ukraine to stop the destabilized situation in Ukraine. Commenting on the provocative statement of the President of Russia, Putin, as to the presence of legions of NATO in Ukraine, Mr. Stoltenberg stated that the only foreign forces in Ukraine are Russians who support separatists in the east of Ukraine. That is all. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. The first question from 1+1 channel.
Andriy, today, this morning, on the site of the Minister of Defense Ukraine, under the headline, the terrorists continue to suffer damages. There's such information. Ukrainian servicemen actually destroyed 4 different vehicles, including the heavy or military vehicles, and 4 tanks, 9 armored vehicles, 4 Smerch multi-salvo units, 19 vehicles, 1 aircraft, these are D9, 1 Yak 51 50, and helicopters Mi-4. So maybe what we do not see here, the submarines. Can you actually comment this information? Because this information looks as kind of fantastic or something like that, really unreal. Well, I understand that you're more interested in the aviation technology, aviation vehicles, which are here mentioned. I have to tell you that it was not down. This was not the airborne attack from our enemy. Those things were actually ruined or eliminated on the territory of the rebels on the ground. It was done in order for them to deprive them of the possibility to use those airborne vehicles or aircraft.
Question that I asked in the previous briefing. How concerned are you that the rebels and the Russians might try to take all of Luhansk and Donetsk oblasts? And if they decide to do that, what can the Ukrainian military do about it? Can you stop it?
Thank you for question.
I'm not only concerned that the rebels plan to offense or attack and try to capture the whole regions, Lugansk and Donetsk. This is task number 1, to stop them, which is being actually fulfilled. Even with their numerous units which they received from the Russian Federation, in the military equipment which they received, I'm talking about the rebels. And you know that our representative of Ukraine in the United Nations, Mr. Sergeyev, provide the explanation that on the territory of the next region, or Donbass, generally speaking, there are about 15,000 Russian troops or Russian soldiers which are involved in the active military offensives or attacks. And the number of these challenges which we register every day and night, each day it's not less than 100. Over the line, last 24 hours was 120 shellings, especially in those directions which we mentioned today, the Baltsovo, Donetsk, Mariupol, and the Stanitsa Luganska. And that's why we just do not have any other choice. We have to defend ourselves and try to somehow to oppose to this aggression. And I believe that our armed forces will be capable to do that. Continuing, well, echoing the previous question, about months ago you mentioned that your opponents do not have enough troops, for the full-scale offensive in all the front lines. Does the situation has changed, or has the situation changed? Do they have enough forces now? Can we talk about the full-scale offensive attack along all the border lines, or this is kind of localized to the Donetsk regions? And second question: what is the situation in the Donetsk airport now? We couldn't find any information today about that. Thank you. We can talk about, can say anything, but enough forces for the full-scale offensive is not, it did not have. As soon as they carry out some kind of attack or offensive, we managed to stop them. We ruined the mortars and the artillery guns and our enemy. They do not have enough strength or force to take up this kind of full-scale offensive. And again, we are talking about our servicemen who were now really well versed in dealing with the weapons they have. And if we're talking about the territory occupied temporarily in Donbass, there is a big number of the people who arrived there in order to be involved in aggressive acts, and we have enough forces to, and most important deals there, not only to stop they, but to eliminate those, get rid of those, and do everything possible for them to leave our territory. As you understand, the President of Ukraine is doing whatever he can, does everything possible, so that in the international area, not only that we can deliver the message to the international community what is going on in the Donetsk and Lugansk region. We are trying to make it everything possible in order to have enough forces to oppose and to stop those aggressors. And if you remember, several months ago, not everybody believed us, but now not every country actually was opposed to the Russian aggression. But now in the United Nations, we can hear more resolute actions, more let's say, the speeches and which are delivered by the different countries against the Russia. So we are going to do everything possible, not only to stop the aggressors, but get rid, generally speaking, altogether of those occupation forces which are now stationed in Ukraine territory. And we do appreciate our journalists, our mass media in Ukraine who do everything possible to demonstrate to the whole world the truth and what's going on realistically in our territory. Thank you. Speaking about the airport, the situation has not changed. The airport remains to be the point of confrontation. Now, I have the question regarding the eliminated aircraft of the rebels. So, what is this information? Where these aircraft are? Because according to the previous information, there were no aircraft, helicopters, or airplanes at the disposal of rebels. Now you're talking about the damage and ruining or destroying those. So maybe you know about some other material you have. Something new. Whatever they had, we try to eliminate. If they have something new, we're going to do our best to eliminate those too. So thank you very much for your information.